We were making our first record in a little office building on Hollywood Boulevard across the street from a hooker hotel. Okay. We had no money and we had just gotten the band together. Once we got the Heartbreakers in circle, Tom started bringing in better songs. He just was inspired.
Welcome to the Sweet Song Podcast, where we unwrap your favorite songs, plus share the stories, secrets, and worldviews behind the music and musicians you love. I'm your host, Kristi York Wooten, and today we are sitting down with rock royalty. As the lead guitarist and co-writer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Mike Campbell didn't just build the soundtrack of our lives, he redefined it for a generation. Before we drop the interview with Mike, I want to make sure you're signed up for our newsletter to get the latest news about his upcoming performance in Atlanta in September with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. Just head on over to purepopfornowpeople.com to sign up for my Substack and learn all about what Mike's got up his sleeve for that big performance. Now, grab your headphones. Here's my conversation with the one and only Mike Campbell. Welcome to the Sweet Song Podcast. I'm your host, Kristi York Wooten, and today we have a very special guest. It's Mike Campbell, you know, the guitarist from his amazing legacy with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He's also been a member of Fleetwood Mac at one point. He's currently recording and touring with his own band, Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs. The group has a new album, Mission of Mercy. It's out June 12th. So it's a dream to talk to you because there's so much music in the ether, I say. Like, for example, I was like, I can't believe I get to talk to Mike. And last week I was having drinks on the porch with my neighbor. We're listening to the Eagles play Boys of Summer, like half a mile away at the Braves Stadium out, going into the spring air with that. So how does it feel to be sort of at that level where literally so much music you have touched is just in the little small pieces of people's daily lives?
Well, it doesn't suck. Uh, I am sorry. I am full of gratitude to be here. I mean, my life, as I talk about in my book, is a series of miracles and spontaneous happenings that led me on the path to where I am today. So I'm really happy to be Mike.
Well, I loved your book, and we can kind of start with a little bit there because I think you're one of the only guys in the original, kind of formation of the Heartbreakers who maybe didn't feel like a Southerner. Is that true?
It's curious though that you bring that up because I mean I was born in the South in Panama City, Florida. I went to elementary school up through high school and college in the South, and a lot of my friends talk like this, you know what I mean, with a strong Southern accent. But for some reason, I never got that. It didn't seep into my DNA. And it's funny, people from New York would come down and they would talk to the family and they go, "Where's he from? He's not from around here." So but the South is deep in my soul, and I don't have a strong accent, but been told that I have a inflection, as Tom did to a greater degree of Southern slang.
Do you still identify with parts of it now? I mean,
Uh,
besides from the culture that you experienced in Florida?
right. Well, I identify from a distance because it's my past. I don't get there very often, but I always get nostalgic when I do go back to Florida. I have lots of memories and growing up there, and I hope people realize that the South is not all hardcore rednecks. There's a lot of sweet people in the South, and I think the South deserves what they get, but it's not all, politically incorrect people. It's actually a pretty sweet place to live. You know, has Southern hospitality and all that. So I have a connection to that for sure. If that answers your question.
Yeah, and of course, I would agree because living in Atlanta and being a Southerner myself, we do have some reputation management on the national scale to
True.
deal with, but other than that, yeah, I wouldn't pick any other place, and especially from, I guess, a music history perspective. So let's start off. I wanna talk about the new Dirty Knobs record and some of the tracks on there, and I know that you got Steve Ferrone, you've got Chris Holt, you've got Lance Morrison, and you guys have, you're 4 records into this unit now. So how is it feeling? I know you've got a lot of different grooves. I actually went through the album and made notes on each song, kind
Oh,
of like,
good.
this is this type of song, and this is this, and this is this. And the one that keeps coming back to me just personally is I Remember. I mean, that
Mm.
one, I think it's like a kid with a 45, like I keep, pushing
Sweet. Thank you.
pushing play or whatever you do on computers nowadays to hear it again,
Mhm.
but what's some of your, moments from making the record and coming up with some of these vibes?
Well, there's lots of we have fun making records. We don't make a task out of it. We have fun. I have a studio at home. It's set up. We just play. We don't have to make sounds or move mics around. We just get into the music, and we do things really fast, which I like. And the we this is our fourth album, and I'm really proud of this one. I think in a lot of ways it's better than the other ones because it shows growth, and there's some, as you've noticed, there's some different styles in there that the knobs don't usually play. Some denser chords here and there for expression that I'd like to explore the songwriting and stretch it out a little bit. And this album certainly does that. I Remember is such a simple song. I mean, there's not much to it. I had a piano and humming over it. I remember us doing. It's repetitious, but there's something hypnotic about that I find myself going back to that song a lot and go, wow. And what's curious, as a songwriter, it's not a standard song structure, that song. It starts with the chorus, and then it has a little turnaround. And instead of going to a verse, it goes back to another chorus. And there's only one verse in the song that's in the middle. And then there's choruses at the end. But I don't know. I'm glad you said that because a lot of people have said the same thing. There's something about it that sticks in your head, I guess. And if you're lucky if you can do that.
Well, it maybe kinda meets the mood of the moment. I mean, lyrically, like you said, it's a very simple song. It's not something intense or, talking about topic of strife or anything like that. It's just kind of that groove you get into, and I think that's what people are looking for. I don't wanna say zone out because that's not it at all. I think it's
Mhm.
very much, like you said, hypnotic and where music just kind of grabs you and there's nothing you can do about it. It's
Mhm.
not from your head, it's kinda from your body that it grabs you, so I appreciate that one, but
Or at the base, it's just a love song.
and that comes through.
Yeah. And so, I mean, some of the other songs on the album were more dense with the lyrics, but this one was just, what can I hum over these chords? I wrote on the piano, which I don't normally do, and that came to me, and it just kinda stuck. I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's good that it's stuck, but
Yeah.
let's talk about a couple of other songs. I know that you've got some guests on the record, and one of them, of course, from Georgia, I will have to ask, is about Kate Pearson
Oh, yeah.
on bongo, which is one of my favorites. To me, it's got that "Running Down a Dream" feel to it. It's just like the turn it up in the car and go kinda song. So tell me about putting that together and how y'all put it together.
Oh, thank you. I like that song a lot. It's just a burst of energy, it's all, like, upbeat, and the music is bopping along. I never thought of "Running Down a Dream," but I guess it has that intensity to it. Uh, and it was, I had heard an old record that had a bongo in it one day when I was working out, and there was a bongo loop, and I thought I could take that and maybe write a song. So it started from that. I made a loop in my studio and came up with a song around that. And it just was really kind of just a party song, just have some fun. But it really grew on us. The band cut it really quick. And the words again on this one too are pretty simple, but they're fun. And then I was listening to it, and I've always liked the B-52s a lot, especially Kate. And I thought, in my wildest dreams, what would it be like? Because this is like one of their type songs. It's in the private Idaho rock
Yeah.
lobster
Yeah.
world. And so I thought, I'll take a chance. I'll have them send it to her and see if she's open to singing on it. And then she called me and we had a great talk. She's a wonderful person. And I can't believe she sang on it with those great parts. I mean, she made the song 10 times better with her little yodels and her harmonies and her humor. I can't wait to meet her in person and thank her.
That's gonna be well, I hope will she be at our show in Atlanta?
I
Is
don't
that a secret
No,
or
no,
no?
no, I have no pla She lives up in Connecticut, I think,
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But I don't know if we'll cross paths or not. I know they're on the tour. I think they're going to Europe this year, the B-52, so I probably won't, maybe I'll never get a chance to meet her in person, but
Okay.
I thanked her profusely through the mail.
Well, I hope you do get to meet, that would be great. I also wanna talk to you about Mission of Mercy, which is the title track, but, the Beatles that's the one with the Beatles and Beach Boys feel to it, so we gotta go there. I
Yeah.
know as so many of people from our generations, I'm Gen X, you're probably technically a boomer, we don't like these labels, but the thing is,
Yeah.
like, the music that we all grew up with came from the Beatles and the Beach Boys no matter what.
Right.
So, I wanna know your earliest memory of hearing the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and what songs grabbed you, and what
Okay.
songs now you feel like kind of represent how you're feeling about them.
Great question. I grew up in the 60s, listening to AM radio, and the Beach Boys and the Beatles were breaking through. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in 1964. I mean, I liked all their songs. I remember going to school uh, in the morning in Jacksonville, and I turned on the top 10, and they had like the top seven were Beatles, you know? And the Beach Boys, there's some magical spiritual connection with their vibe, their music, the sound and the way Brian mixed their records and the songs and the California fantasy. I totally bought into that from Jacksonville, living by a paper mill. Wow, I'd be like to be on the beach, like the Beach Boys with all these girls and hot rods. And so I bought that whole fantasy, and those songs still give me chills. And he's such a great composer, a huge influence on me and the Beatles. So this song, I write lots of types of songs. When I write, I just follow the views. It's telling me write it like what the Ramones do, or what would the Beach Boys do, or whatever direction I go in. But I rarely go in Beach Boys direction because it's kind of over my head a lot. But I found this tape. It was of 20 years old of a demo I had done. I guess I was imagining I was in the Beach Boys because I came up with all these Beach Boys type arrangements. And I guess I was just messing around to see what it would sound like on this song. And then when I heard it for this record, I thought, well, maybe that'll fit on this record. It's really different, but I'm really proud of the music. And I had Chris Holt sing the lead harmony with me, the lead voice with me, and the harmony. But he sang the lead with me, so I'm not alone. He made me sound a lot better. And it's a song of hope. And the chords are really interesting. They go into some interesting Brian Wilson, Beethoven territory here and there, but I like that. And it's a really great produced record. There's lots of good sounds on it. And then, so we finished that record. And then I was listening to it and I thought, this is great, but there's something missing. At the end, we need to have a lead guitar come in. So the last thing I did was that wah wah guitar at the end. I did one pass here. I said, put it up. Let me just play some guitar on the end. And that lifts the song up quite a bit. It takes it out of the sweet into the rock, sort of. So that song I'm really proud of. That's why I titled the album after it. And I hope it doesn't weird people out because it's so different for the knobs. But it's our fourth album. We got to take some chances.
Say it would weird people out at all. I think it does have an homage feel to it. But as a musician, especially you, having had so much success and been part of so many songs that people know by heart, have influenced people's lives.
Mhm.
The I think it's fun. We end up having relationships with the songs themselves. Obviously, we don't have a relationship with, or I don't, I never had one with Brian Wilson, or, I didn't know these people, but you have a
Mhm.
relationship with the songs because the songs belong to you once you hear them. So
Yeah.
what Beach Boys songs or Beatles songs do you have kind of the closest relationship to?
Well, I didn't hear the Beatles influence in that song till someone pointed it out to me. But that's in my subconscious. I always thought of it as a pure homage, as you said, to Brian Wilson. But it does have some Beatlesque chords movements. And oh,
Which
what
Beatle
songs?
Yeah, which
What's
Beatles and then Beach Boys
well,
songs kinda do you have the closest relationship with?
God only knows. I cannot hear that without stopping what I'm doing and listening all the way through. I've heard it probably 2 million times. Good Vibrations. I like the old stuff too, Good Vibrations, but I like the old surf stuff like Surfer Girl and In My Room. I mean, it's those songs just resonate with my heart. I don't know why. And of course, the Beatles, all their stuff. There's so many. It's hard to pick. I mean, I like Please Please Me, and then later on, I like Come Together. I like everything they did. They were so creative, and I like George's songs. Here Comes the Sun, Something. Um, Paul's great. They're all great. But those two artists are are seeped into my brain. So if something influence comes out, I have no control over it at this point.
Well, In My Room is like a dark horse song. I think
Mm,
that has, like, aged very well because my brother we grew up in the '70s and '80s, so my brother had a Beach Boys tape he would play In My Room. That's like the teenage ode to your bedroom of, like, where you're
yeah.
dreaming up all the stuff. And then somehow I reheard that, my daughter playing, during the pandemic. And
Mm,
how
mm,
these
mm,
kids were, "What's that song In My Room by the Beach Boys?" I'm like, "Well, it
hmm
sort of applies now too." But that one is just like a dark horse for me that has come up in stature over recent years, just the vibe,
hmm
the feel.
Yeah. Well, it has something. That's the beauty of songwriting. If you touch a spark, or a feeling or an emotion, it connects with other people in a profound way. It stays with them their whole life, and they can come back to it and relive it. And they are like our little children. We start to own them after a while.
Yeah, even if we're not songwriters, that's what
Right.
fascinates me is I appreciate having the relationship with the song and then talking to the writers about how they produced it. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is the kind of the advent of AI and the way the music industry's become very focused on it's a lot of solo acts, big solo stars doing their songs, and some of them write their songs and some of them don't, but
Mm,
songwriting itself has changed from, like, an average of 3 or 4, and then it got up to, like, a dozen people, songwriting
mhm,
credits, and, it's not a very scientific assessment of what's happened to songwriting, but how do
mhm,
you feel it's changed since you guys first came on the scene? I mean,
mhm.
you're talking about a 50-year period or more where you've seen all the different changes in the way songs are presented and
Yeah, we see them come and go. We lived through new wave, we lived through disco, we lived through grunge, and all that stuff. This era leaves me behind a little bit, but it's changing so fast. The digital world, the AI thing. When I first realized it was getting pretty advanced. I saw something that said the Rolling Stones, and I clicked on it, and I was about halfway through before I realized, wait, this isn't them, this is AI. But it was so well done that it fooled me for a second, and then I got bummed about it, and I thought, you know what, bring it on. Come on, robots, do your thing, write your songs. Put your algorithm in there and do a Dylan song and make words like Dylan and do all you're going to do, but you're still robots. And you might take some money out of my pocket, but I don't care. You.
I
I'll
love
still
that.
I'll still be here. And I think maybe I'm optimistic, but I think a lot of people like me would get fooled for a moment. Or if you see a picture nowadays on the internet, oh, wait, that's not even real. But I think people start to realize, well, I can't trust any of this stuff because it might not be real. So they don't grab onto it as quickly. And I also think over time, that the cream will rise to the top. People will hear AI music, and then one day they'll hear music by real people, and they go, "Oh my God, where has this been all my life? This is so much better because there's a missing element
Mm.
that we talked about, the magic human element of connection and deep soul." Now, AI might get lucky one day and hit one, but they're not. I don't. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I don't like it. I don't like a lot of things about the new industry dynamic, but you just gotta keep plugging on and do your own stuff and hope it shines.
Well, you're exactly right on the spiritual connection being something that robots will never do. So, I think that people who are deep listeners, you can maybe be fooled by some arrangements or the instrumentation of AI sounding a little bit real, but it will never touch you below a surface, at least in my
Right.
experience so far, so hopefully that'll hopefully we
Well,
won't.
you know what? I know that's true, Christy. I know that that concept is true because when my kids were growing up, I would drive them to school in the morning, and we put on the radio, FM radio. And at the time, it was for a while there, it was like the Madonna era or the boy band era or whoever, their generation's music. And we'd be listening to the radio, and one of those stupid songs would come on, and I'd click the button and click it again and go through the stuff. And my son, who I think was in first grade or second grade, he goes, go back 2 buttons. And I said, why? I said, and I put it on. It was "You Got Me, Babe" by Sonny and Cher. And he looked at me. He said, "Why does that sound so much better than all this other stuff?" Because he could sense, even un, uneducated, he could sense the soul in it.
Yeah.
Like, this is not disco. It's not whatever. Not poppy poppy pop, but it's strong and it connects with you.
And he probably can distinguish a synthetic sound versus,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
something
so I
real.
mean, that's what I'm saying. If the kids can tell the difference, we're okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Long live Gen Z and all the ones that come after them. They're gonna save us, we hope. So, I had a great experience, well, 2 real quick things I'll say. I've seen Heartbreakers several times over the years, and, some of those memories are very, special for different reasons I won't go into here. Just some of the people have passed now, different things like that,
Mm,
in the friend group. But in January, Ben Tench played here in Atlanta at the City Winery, and he is solo piano on these shows, and he closes the show with this beautiful, just kind of piano, very simple, easy version of American Girl.
mm,
And, I was thinking, my mind was reeling about the song and all the different sort of times I've heard it live and what it means. And I know the guitar part means a lot to you, but tell me if is that the song that you think encapsulates kind of everything that the Heartbreakers have been about, or do you have a different one that you think is the one that you would prefer that people would remember the band and
mm.
connect with?
Well, that one. Breakdown is a close second, but American Girl. See, we were making our first record in a little office building on Hollywood Boulevard across the street from a hooker hotel. Okay, we had no money, and we had just gotten the band together, and we're finding our way in the studio. We were very green, and Tom started bringing in. Once we got the Heartbreakers in circle, Tom started bringing in better songs. He was inspired. And one day he brought, I think it was the day or day before 4th of July, he brought in the song "American Girl." And he played it on the acoustic guitar. And I immediately thought, this is probably the best thing he's done. This is a great song. Oh, we got to make this great. And so we cut the track relatively quick and did all the parts and everything. And it took on a life of its own. But what it had, that song to me in the recording, and a lot of people ask me this, that song was the moment we found our sound. It's like I was listening to it finished and I was going like, wow, nobody else makes this sound. Nobody can write like this, and nobody has these tones, or this rhythm. This is us. We own this. This is going to be our, uh, what do you call it? Template of who we are from now on. We found it. And that's what it is to me.
And even to this day, that's good.
Yeah, even to
I
this
love
day. Yeah.
it from the first note, and you're responsible for that first note, unless it's been playing it on the
No, that was me. I
piano.
like that Benmont is doing this song. Occasionally, I do songs too, and pare them down just to hear the lyrics and stuff. I think it's great that he's doing that.
Yeah, on a piano, it sounds good. So let's talk about what's happening with the symphony in Atlanta and what's being planned. Can you give us some of the songs that are gonna be arranged for that performance?
I have a rough list somewhere. We're still working on it, but I can tell you, well, definitely, "You Got Lucky," "Woman in Love," "Can't Stop the Sun." The ones with dense chords tend to work good with an orchestra because my friend has been doing arrangements on the keyboard to show me how the songs would sound with cellos here and oboes there. And so maybe "Good Enough" or "First Flash of Freedom." And put some hits in there that people recognize. These are some of the deep tracks, but I love orchestral music. I love Beethoven, Mozart, and when I was younger and we were touring, I would think in myself, and someday this is going to end. And when it does, if I thought eventually we just retire. I didn't know it was going to play out the way it did, but I used to think when it does, maybe I'll get a tour bus and the dogs and book some colleges and advance them the music and go to each town and play orchestra versions of songs that people know and like. So it's just a fantasy. I said, I'll do that when I get old, you know. And then a couple of years ago, I looked up and you go, dude, you're there. And so I thought, I got to do it now or never. The little bit I've heard of the arrangements, I haven't heard it with the strings yet. We're going to do a dry run here, and we'll see how it goes. I think I'll probably end up playing guitar here and there, but it'll be mostly the orchestra, the 80-piece orchestra, and I'm excited about it. I'm nervous about it, but I think it'll be different, and it'll be good because a lot of the songs they'll know, so they won't be just listening to new stuff. And Atlanta. So I told my manager, this is what I'd like to do. Do you think there's any interest for something like this? And so he put out a few feelers. And Atlanta came right back and said, we'd love to do that with Mike. So we said, okay, let's just do the one and see how it goes. And if it goes well, maybe I will get the bus and head out on the road.
Well, I love that Atlanta's the place. I mean, I have to brag on Atlanta. I think obviously for Tom Petty and Heartbreakers, I'm sure you had so many markets that were just aflame whenever you came to town, of course. But Atlanta being probably the closest big hub at the time to a Jacksonville or to a Gainesville, even though it was still several hours away. you know, it kind of feels like that you guys are, part of the family in Georgia too. So that is always good. But Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, you're getting lucky with that too, because they were the first, I mean, for many years they were the most Grammy winning orchestra. And back in the 70s, 80s, they brokered this deal with a CD company. So they ended up selling more CDs than like any other orchestra practically at the time.
Yeah.
So they were, really full of themselves at that point. But no, they're wonderful orchestra. And it's going to be so fun. I'm excited when I first saw that collaboration was happening, and especially that Atlanta's the first place. Super
Mhm.
exciting. Well, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate your time and taking time to talk for the Sweet Song podcast. We got to end on one sweet song. I know we've already talked about American Girl, but maybe what's one Heartbreaker song that you wish more people knew that's just super sweet to you?
Right. Well, there's a song called All or Nothing that I think it was on the Into the Great Wide Open record, which was co-produced with Jeff Lynne. And I wrote the music and Tom wrote the words. And I really like that song a lot. And I'm real proud of it, but it kind of got overlooked. It's in the deep tracks file. But All or Nothing would be worth hearing again.
And mine, along the Jeff Lynne line, Facing the Crowd is worth hearing. And for people too, I think you
So
might play
simple.
keyboard on that or something, but
It's
yeah.
just so simple, isn't it? Yeah, but the spirit, the glue of soulness in it is palpable.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on the Sweet Song Podcast, and we'll see you in Atlanta.
Thank you, Kristi.
The Sweet Song Podcast is hosted by Kristi York Wooten, that's me, and produced by Sustenance Group, LLC. Special thanks to this week's guest. Be sure to check out full episodes wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe and like on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Visit Pure Pop for Now, people, for more information, and we'll see you next week.